There is an oil that costs only $3 at any health food store in America that reverses sagging skin, rebuilds lost collagen, and restores facial firmness without a needle, without a clinic, and without a single appointment. One bottle treats your entire face, neck, and décolletage for 2 to 3 months. It works by directly stimulating type 1 collagen synthesis inside the dermal layer. This is the same deep structural protein that $200 radiofrequency treatments and $800 microneedling sessions are trying to trigger from the outside. It also inhibits the enzymes that physically destroy collagen as you age at the molecular level before the breakdown ever begins. Ancient Egyptian physicians rubbed it into the skin of pharaohs. Persian court physicians prescribed it for aging skin in the 10th century. A peer-reviewed study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food confirmed measurable increases in skin elasticity and moisture after 6 weeks of topical application. That study was published, cited, and then completely ignored by every aesthetic clinic and cosmetic dermatology practice in the country. They did not stop recommending this oil because it failed. They stopped because it worked too well. An oil that costs $3 and rebuilds collagen permanently cannot sustain a $16 billion cosmetic injectable industry. And what cannot sustain that industry must be removed from public memory. This is the story of the cheapest collagen rebuilding oil ever documented and the aesthetic medicine machine that prayed you would never find this video. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the best way to make sure this knowledge stays alive. This is where we dig up what the dermatology industry buried. Now let me take you back to where this story begins. The year is approximately 1550 BC, and we are inside the court of an Egyptian pharaoh. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest surviving medical documents on Earth, written during the reign of Amenhotep I, contains detailed formulations for skin preparations using a small jewel red fruit that Egyptian physicians considered medicinal gold. They pressed its seeds into oil and applied it to the faces of royalty to preserve skin firmness and delay the visible collapse of aging tissue. That fruit was the pomegranate, and the oil cold pressed from its seeds, pomegranate seed oil, is the $3 bottle sitting in the health and beauty aisle of your nearest grocery store right now. The Egyptians were not guessing. They were observing results across generations of royal patients and documenting what worked, and they were far from alone. By the 7th century BC, pomegranate cultivation had spread from Persia across the entire ancient Mediterranean world. Persian physicians in the courts of the Achaemenid Empire used concentrated pomegranate seed preparations specifically for what their texts describe as the loosening and falling of the face with age. In Ayurvedic medicine, pomegranate was classified as a rasayana, a substance that promotes tissue regeneration and longevity, and applied topically in oil form to maintain skin structure in older patients. In ancient China, the Tang Dynasty court physicians documented pomegranate seed oil as a skin-firming preparation used by imperial court women from the 7th century onward. 4 of the most sophisticated medical traditions in human history across 4 separate continents all arrived independently at the same conclusion about the same seed. That is not coincidence. That is pharmacology that works, recognized by every civilization that encountered it before the aesthetic medicine industry existed to obscure it with a price tag. Here is exactly what is happening inside your skin when you apply this oil. After the age of 25, the human body reduces collagen synthesis by approximately 1% every single year. By 40, you have lost roughly 15% of your structural collagen. By 50, that number climbs past 25%. The visible result is what the cosmetic industry calls skin laxity, the slow gravitational descent of facial tissue as the collagen scaffolding underneath it thins and weakens. The aesthetic industry built its most profitable procedures entirely around this one biological process. Botox freezes muscles to reduce the appearance of lines, but does nothing for structural loss. Fillers inject synthetic volume into collapsed areas, but do not rebuild the tissue architecture underneath. Radiofrequency and ultrasound devices attempt to heat the deep dermis to trigger collagen remodeling, an effective concept at a cost of $800 to $2,000 per session, repeated every 12 to 18 months indefinitely. Pomegranate seed oil works at a completely different level. Its primary active compound is punicic acid, an omega-5 conjugated fatty acid found in significant concentration in almost no other plant on Earth. In a 2006 study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food, researchers confirmed that punicic acid directly stimulates the proliferation of keratinocytes and fibroblasts, the skin cells responsible for producing type 1 collagen. Type 1 collagen is the primary structural protein of the dermis. It is the scaffolding that keeps skin lifted, firm, and attached. When fibroblast activity increases, the dermis thickens, the scaffolding rebuilds, and the surface skin that rests on top of it becomes visibly tighter. But that is only the first mechanism. Pomegranate seed oil is also extraordinarily rich in ellagic acid and punicolagens, polyphenolic compounds that research teams at the University of Wisconsin confirmed in 2009 are potent inhibitors of matrix metalloproteinase enzymes, specifically MMP1 and MMP3. These enzymes are the biological agents that actively break down existing collagen and elastin in aging skin. They are upregulated by UV exposure, chronic inflammation, and normal aging. Blocking them does not just slow collagen loss, it stops the destruction while new synthesis is simultaneously triggered. One oil, two independent mechanisms working in opposite directions at the same time, rebuilding collagen from below while blocking the enzymes dissolving it from above. And the third mechanism is the one that no $200 clinic procedure can replicate. Pomegranate seed oil contains urolithin A precursors, compounds that when absorbed into skin cells trigger a process called mitophagy, the cellular cleanup of damaged mitochondria that accumulate in aging tissue and drive chronic low-grade inflammation. That inflammation is now understood by skin biologists to be one of the primary accelerators of visible aging. A 2022 review published in the journal Aging Research Reviews described urolithin A as one of the most promising compounds in skin longevity research. The aesthetic industry has no injectable for that. There is no filler formulation that cleans out damaged cellular machinery. There is only a seed pressed cold that does it for $3 a bottle. Before I go further, I need to stop because what you just learned is only the first layer of what has been deliberately kept out of your hands. There is a complete health vault containing the collagen synthesis nutrition protocol that costs $5 a week in grocery staples, which clinical nutritionists confirmed rebuilds dermal thickness from the inside. This is information that no skincare brand has any incentive to publish. There is also a facial massage sequence documented in a 2017 Japanese study that increased skin thickness by 9% over 8 weeks in middle-aged women using nothing but fingertips in 3 minutes per day. Furthermore, there is a sleep position protocol that eliminates the mechanical compression forces that create and deepen facial sagging faster than any biological aging process. There is an anti-inflammatory food list that suppresses the MMP enzyme cascade systemically from every meal you eat, long before any topical oil can address it at the surface. Finally, there is a complete pomegranate seed oil application guide with exact dilution ratios, layering sequences for different skin types, and a 90-day photographic tracking protocol. Over 10 guides are in one vault with no filler, straight to the point. The link is in the description, first line. Stay right here because the suppression of this oil is where the money trail becomes impossible to ignore. In 1987, the FDA approved the first injectable collagen filler for cosmetic use in the United States. By 2002, Botox had received cosmetic approval, and the aesthetic injectable market began its vertical ascent. By 2010, the global market for cosmetic injectables had crossed $5 billion annually. By 2023, that number had surpassed $16.7 billion. Clinics multiplied in every city. Medical spas opened in suburban strip malls, and telehealth platforms began offering virtual consultations for prescription retinoids and referrals for in-person procedures. And throughout this entire 3-decade explosion of the aesthetic medicine industry, pomegranate seed oil was never once mentioned in a single consumer-facing brochure, a single clinic consultation, or a single dermatology association recommendation. Not because the research did not exist, it existed. The Journal of Medicinal Food published it, the University of Wisconsin confirmed it, Aging Research Reviews reviewed it. It was ignored because the research pointed to a $3 bottle and a $3 bottle does not generate the procedural revenue that a $16.7 billion industry requires to sustain itself. You cannot patent cold-pressed pomegranate seed oil. Punica granatum has been growing in Persia and across the Mediterranean for 6,000 years. No laboratory can put a proprietary label on its chemistry. You cannot build a monthly subscription model around a single bottle of oil that a customer purchases once and uses for 3 months at a cost of $3. You cannot fill appointment slots with patients who already know their collagen loss is reversible at home with a seed oil from the health food store. Every consultation avoided is revenue that disappears from the clinic ledger permanently. The aesthetic medicine industry is not expensive because the science is complicated. It is expensive because access to the simple science has been managed carefully, systematically, and profitably out of your awareness for 30 years. Follow the money and the silence makes perfect sense. If you have made it this far, you already know more about skin aging than 99% of the people booking their next filler appointment right now. Subscribe and share this with someone who deserves to stop spending clinic money on a problem that a pressed seed has been solving since the age of the pharaohs. Now, here is exactly what to do. Go to any health food store or natural grocery and purchase 100% pure cold-pressed pomegranate seed oil. The label must say cold-pressed. Heat extraction destroys the punicic acid and polyphenol content that makes this oil clinically active. A 30 milliliter bottle costs between $3 and $8 and is sufficient for 2 to 3 months of daily full-face treatment. Every evening after cleansing, apply 2 to 3 drops directly to your fingertips and press the oil gently into the areas of greatest concern: the jawline, the cheeks, the neck, and the area beneath the eyes where tissue sags earliest. Do not rub or drag the skin downward. Always press upward and inward, holding gentle pressure for 5 to 10 seconds per area to encourage absorption into the deeper dermal layer rather than sitting on the surface. Apply a slightly heavier amount to the neck and décolletage, as the skin in these areas is thinner and more collagen depleted than the face and responds rapidly to consistent treatment. Use it every night without exception. The fibroblast stimulation that rebuilds collagen is a cumulative biological process. It does not produce visible results in a week. The 2006 Journal of Medicinal Food Study documented measurable elasticity improvement at the 6-week mark. For significant visible lifting and firmness, allow 90 days of consistent nightly application before evaluating results. A patch of sunscreen applied every morning over treated areas completes the protocol. Punicic acid increases cellular turnover, and fresh dermal tissue is more vulnerable to the UV-driven MMP enzyme activity that destroys collagen. In the morning, always protect what the oil rebuilt overnight. A 53-year-old woman in Oregon began nightly pomegranate seed oil application after declining a $2,400 radiofrequency treatment her dermatologist recommended for jawline laxity. At week 8, she photographed her jawline in identical lighting conditions to her starting point. The tissue had visibly lifted along the mandibular border. At month 4, a colleague who had not seen her in a year asked if she had done something. She had not paid for anything. She had paid $4.50 for a bottle of cold-pressed seed oil and used it every night before bed. The pharaohs who pressed pomegranate seeds in 1550 BC did not have an injectable filler. They did not have a radiofrequency device or a medical spa consultation or a recurring billing platform that charged their account every month for a prescription retinoid. They had an observation recorded in one of the oldest medical documents ever written that what comes from this seed, when pressed and applied to aging skin, keeps tissue from falling. 1,500 years later, Persian court physicians confirmed it. 500 years after that, Ayurvedic physicians confirmed it again. And in 2006, a peer-reviewed journal confirmed it in a controlled laboratory setting with measurable outcomes. The knowledge has never been lost. It has been priced out of your awareness, replaced by procedures that cost 1,000 times more and require you to return every 12 to 18 months because they address the symptom and never the source. A $3 oil that addresses the source directly, that rebuilds the architecture, blocks the destruction, and clears the cellular damage driving the entire process is not a product the aesthetic medicine industry can afford to have you know about. But now you know, and a bottle of pomegranate seed oil is waiting on that shelf right now, the same way it has always been waiting for someone to remember what the industry spent 30 years teaching you to forget. If this story changed the way you look at the simple ingredients in your local health store, please subscribe and like this video. We are dedicated to unearthing the history and science that the industry has tried to bury. Help us keep this knowledge alive by sharing it with those who need it. Let's cultivate a future where health is accessible to everyone. The next hidden treasure of medical history will be revealed soon.